Most people spend their whole lives waiting for the right moment, and you know what happens? The right moment becomes the last moment, and all they have left are regrets and a list of what ifs. Let me tell you something I've learned after decades of studying success and failure. The difference between those who live extraordinary lives and those who settle for ordinary isn't talent, luck, or circumstances. It's their relationship with time and their willingness to act when action is uncomfortable. You know, I once knew two farmers who lived right next to each other. Same soil, same weather, same opportunities. Come spring, the first farmer was out there planting his seeds. The moment the ground could be worked, his neighbor watched him and said, "You're rushing it. I'm going to wait for the perfect conditions. I want to make sure the weather's just right, the soil temperature is optimal, everything's perfect." The first farmer just smiled and kept planting. Months later, when harvest time came, the first farmer had crops ready to sell while his neighbor was still waiting for those perfect conditions. The second farmer had missed the entire season. He had all the same resources, all the same knowledge, but he let the season pass him by while waiting for perfection. Here's what I want you to understand. There are seasons in life, and they don't wait for you to feel ready. This reminds me of a pivotal moment in my own life. I was 25 years old, broke, and honestly not going anywhere fast. I was working hard, but I wasn't working smart. Then someone invited me to a personal development seminar. Now, I had every excuse in the book ready to go. I didn't have the money, I didn't have the time, I wasn't sure it would work. But something inside me said, "Jim, if you don't do something different, you're going to keep getting the same results." So I borrowed the money and went to that seminar. That decision changed everything. Not because the seminar was magical, but because I finally acted on what I knew I needed to do. I had known for months that I needed to invest in myself, learn new skills, change my approach to life. But I kept waiting for the right time, the right amount of money, the right circumstances. The truth is, there never would have been a right time if I hadn't decided to make that moment the right time. Here's what most people don't understand about successful people. They don't wait for motivation. They act, and then motivation follows. Unsuccessful people wait to feel like doing something before they do it. Successful people do it first, and then they feel like doing it. It's backwards from what most people think, but it's the truth. You see, every small decision you make today is setting up your tomorrow. It's what I call the compound effect of choices. When you decide to read for an hour instead of watching television, that's compound interest working in your favor. When you decide to save money instead of spend it, exercise instead of sitting on the couch, learn instead of being entertained, those decisions are building your future self. But here's the flip side. Every time you postpone a good decision, you're also compounding. You're compounding missed opportunities, lost momentum, and diminished self-confidence. The person who says, "I'll start my diet tomorrow," is the same person who will be saying the same thing 5 years from now. The person who says, "I'll start that business someday," is the same person who will retire with that same dream still locked away in their heart. I want to share something with you that might sting a little, but it needs to be said. Tomorrow is the most dangerous word in the English language. It's where dreams go to die. It's where good intentions become empty promises. It's where your potential gets buried under the weight of procrastination. Show me someone who's always going to do something tomorrow, and I'll show you someone whose tomorrow never comes. The most successful people I know have one thing in common. They make decisions quickly and change them slowly. Unsuccessful people do the opposite. They take forever to make a decision, going back and forth, weighing every possible scenario, waiting for more information, more assurance, more certainty. Then when they finally make a decision, they change it at the first sign of difficulty or discomfort. Let me tell you why this happens. When you take too long to make a decision, you're not getting smarter, you're getting scared. You're giving your fears more time to talk you out of what you know you should do. But when you make a decision quickly based on the information you have right now, you're acting from a place of strength and intuition. You're trusting yourself. Now, I'm not talking about being reckless or impulsive. I'm talking about recognizing that you already know what you need to do in most situations. The person who wants to lose weight knows they need to eat better and exercise more. The person who wants to improve their finances knows they need to earn more and spend less. The person who wants better relationships knows they need to be a better friend, partner, or family member. The knowledge isn't the problem. The problem is we keep waiting for something external to change before we take action. We wait for Monday to start the diet. We wait for the new year to make resolutions. We wait for the economy to improve before starting that business. We wait for our kids to leave home before pursuing our dreams. We wait for retirement to start living. But here's what I've learned. The perfect moment is now. Not because now is perfect, but because now is all we have. You can't act in the past, it's already gone. You can't act in the future. It doesn't exist yet. You can only act now in this moment with what you have where you are. The person who acts with imperfect conditions but perfect commitment will always outperform the person who waits for perfect conditions but never commits to anything. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time. You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. Think about this. Every expert was once a beginner. Every professional was once an amateur. Every icon was once an unknown. The only difference between where they started and where they ended up was their willingness to begin before they felt ready. They understood that readiness is not a feeling, it's a decision. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting for permission from the world to start living your life. Stop waiting for the fear to go away. It won't. Stop waiting for more confidence. Stop waiting for more confidence. Comes from action, not the other way around. Stop waiting for the right time, the right resources, the right circumstances. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. The clock is ticking. Every day you don't act on what you know is a day you choose to stay exactly where you are. And staying where you are might feel safe, but it's the most dangerous place you can be. Because while you're standing still, life is moving forward, opportunities are passing by, and your dreams are getting further away. Now you might be thinking, Jim, what's so bad about staying where I am? At least I'm not going backwards. But let me share something with you that might shake up that thinking. Staying the same isn't really staying the same at all. It's actually going backwards, and here's why. Life is like a river. It's always moving, always flowing. When you're not swimming forward, you're being carried backward by the current. The world around you is advancing, improving, growing, changing. Technology's advancing. Your competition is getting better. Prices are going up. Skills that were valuable yesterday become obsolete today. If you're not moving forward, you're automatically falling behind. That's not philosophy. That's mathematics. I once knew a man who had a brilliant idea for a business back in 1975. He researched it, planned it, got excited about it, but he kept saying, I'll start it next year when I have more money saved up. 1,976 came and went. Same story. 1,977, 1,978, 1979. Year after year, he kept saying next year. You know what happened? Someone else started that exact business in 1981 and became a millionaire. My friend was still saying next year in 1995 when I lost touch with him. 20 years of next year, and all he had to show for it was 20 years of regret. Here's what I learned from watching him. Procrastination isn't just delaying success, it's guaranteeing failure. Every day you wait to start is a day someone else is building the life you dreamed about. Every month you postpone that diet is a month your health declines. Every year you put off learning that new skill is a year. Your value in the marketplace diminishes. Let me tell you about the mathematics of mediocrity. It starts small, almost invisible. You skip one workout, no big deal, right? You eat one extra donut, who's gonna notice? You watch television instead of reading, it's just one night. You don't make those sales calls, you'll do them tomorrow. Small compromises, tiny defeats, little surrenders. Each one seems harmless by itself. But here's the thing about mathematics. Small numbers compound into big numbers. That one skipped workout becomes a habit of skipping workouts. That one extra donut becomes a pattern of poor eating. That one night of television becomes years of mental stagnation. Those postponed sales calls become a career of underperformance. Before you know it, those small compromises have compounded into a life of massive regrets. I think about some of the people I've known over the years, people with incredible potential, brilliant minds, loving hearts, natural talents. But they chose comfort over challenge, security over growth, the familiar over the unknown. They settled. And settling is the most expensive thing you can do in life, because the price you pay is your potential. You know what the hidden costs of staying the same really are? It's not just the opportunities you miss, though those are significant. It's not just the money you don't make, though that hurts too. The real cost is what happens to your self-respect. Deep down, you know when you're capable of more. You know when you're settling. You know when you're making excuses instead of making progress. And that knowing eats away at your confidence, your enthusiasm, your belief in yourself. Here's something painful but true. The person who settles starts to resent the people who don't. They begin to criticize those who take risks, who chase dreams, who refuse to accept mediocrity. It's easier to tear down someone else's ambition than to face your own lack of action. But that resentment is really directed at themselves. They're angry at what they could have been, what they should have done, what they might have achieved. I've watched this happen too many times. Someone has a dream, a goal, a vision for their life. But instead of acting on it, they wait. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect circumstances. And while they're waiting, life happens. Responsibilities pile up, bills accumulate, years pass, and suddenly that dream that once seemed so possible feels impossible. The comfort zone, we talk about it like it's a good thing, but let me tell you what a comfort zone really island. It's a prison where you're both the prisoner and the guard. You hold the key, but you convince yourself you're safer locked inside. You tell yourself stories about why you can't leave, why it's too dangerous out there, why what you have is good enough. But comfort zones don't stay comfortable forever. What feels safe today becomes a trap tomorrow. Here's the relationship between regret and inaction that most people never understand. Show me someone with deep regrets, and I'll show you someone who knew what to do but didn't do it. The biggest regrets in life aren't about the mistakes we made. They're about the chances we didn't take, the risks we didn't accept, the dreams we didn't pursue. We can forgive ourselves for trying and failing, but it's much harder to forgive ourselves for not trying at all. I remember talking to a man in his 70s who told me, "Jim, I spent 40 years working a job I hated, saving money for a retirement I might not even live to enjoy. I had dreams of starting my own business, traveling the world, writing a book. But I kept telling myself I'd do all that later, when it was safe, when I had enough money, when the kids were grown. Now I have the money and the time, but I don't have the energy or the health. I waited too long." That conversation haunted me because I saw myself in his words. I realized that staying the same feels safe, but it's actually the most dangerous choice you can make. It guarantees that you'll wake up in 10 years with the same problems, the same limitations, the same unfulfilled dreams, except you'll be 10 years older with 10 years less time to change them. The tragedy isn't that life is short. The tragedy is that most people make it shorter by wasting years waiting for someday. They live the same year over and over again and call it a life. They mistake routine for progress, activity for achievement, busyness for purposefulness. But here's what gives me hope. It's never too late to stop going backwards and start moving forward. It's never too late to stop settling and start striving. It's never too late to stop waiting and start acting. The past is gone, but the future is still being written. And the pen is in your hand. So if staying the same is so dangerous, how does real change actually work? Let me tell you something most people get wrong about change. They think it's about willpower or motivation or waiting for the right feeling to strike them. But that's not how change works at all. Real change follows natural laws, just like the seasons. You know, I've always been fascinated by the seasons. Spring doesn't ask winter for permission to arrive. Summer doesn't wait for spring to finish its work perfectly. Fall comes whether the harvest is ready or not. Winter arrives regardless of whether you've prepared for it. The seasons follow their natural rhythm, and successful people understand they must align themselves with the seasons of opportunity in their own lives. Here's what I mean. There are seasons for planting and seasons for harvesting, seasons for learning and seasons for earning, seasons for building and seasons for enjoying what you've built. But here's the key. Spring doesn't wait for you to be ready. If you missed the planting season because you weren't prepared, you missed the harvest season too. That's not cruelty. That's just how life works. I learned this lesson when I was 25 years old and met a man named Mr. Shove. One conversation with him changed my entire life trajectory. He said something that hit me like lightning. Jim, you're a nice guy, but you're broke. If you want to be wealthy, you have to learn to think like wealthy people think and do what wealthy people do. That conversation lasted maybe 30 minutes, but it started a transformation that took years to complete. Here's what Mr. Shove taught me about change. You can't change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. You can't transform your bank account in a day, but you can transform your philosophy in a moment. You can't rebuild your body in a week, but you can change your eating habits before your next meal. Change starts with a decision, but it's completed through daily disciplines. Most people try to change their circumstances without changing themselves, and that's why they fail. They want a better job, but they don't want to become more valuable. They want better relationships, but they don't want to become more loving. They want more money, but they want to become more skilled. They want respect, but they don't want to become more respectable. You can't have what you want until you become who you need to be to deserve it. Here's the truth about results. You don't get what you want in life, you get what you are. If you want to change your results, you have to change yourself. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. Your income rarely exceeds your personal development. Your relationships rarely exceed your character development. Your success rarely exceeds your self-development. This is why I say you must work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. Your job will give you what you need to survive. Personal development will give you what you need to thrive. Let me share something that might surprise you. The goal isn't really the goal. The person you become in pursuit of your goals is more valuable than achieving the goals themselves. When you set a goal to lose 50 pounds, the real value isn't the 50 pounds you lose, it's the discipline, self-control, and confidence you gain. When you set a goal to build a business, the real value isn't the money you make, it's the skills, knowledge, and character you develop. This brings me to one of the most important concepts I can share with you: personal discipline. If you don't discipline yourself, life will discipline you. And trust me, life's discipline is much harsher than self-discipline. Self-discipline weighs ounces, but regret weighs tons. What is discipline? It's doing what you know you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. It's keeping promises to yourself. It's choosing long-term benefits over short-term pleasure. It's saying no to good things so you can say yes to great things. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Here's what I've discovered about discipline. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be consistent. Small disciplines practiced consistently create major breakthroughs. Reading 10 pages a day might not seem like much, but that's 36 books a year. Saving $10 a day might not feel significant, but that's $3,600 a year plus compound interest. The power of consistency is that it creates momentum, and momentum makes everything easier. When you first start exercising, every workout is difficult. But after months of consistency, your body craves the exercise. When you first start reading, it might feel like work, but after developing the habit, you feel incomplete without your daily reading time. Now, here's something beautiful about personal change. It creates what I call the ripple effect. When you change yourself, everything around you starts to change too. Your improved attitude attracts better people. Your increased skills create new opportunities. Your enhanced confidence opens doors that were previously closed. Your stronger character earns respect you never had before. People often ask me, Jim, how long does it take to change? And my answer is always the same. It takes as long as it takes for you to decide. The decision to change happens in a moment. The process of change happens over time. But everything starts with that moment of decision when you say, enough is enough. I will no longer accept less than I'm capable of achieving. But here's what you must understand. Change is uncomfortable. Growth requires you to leave your comfort zone. Development demands that you face your fears. Progress means doing things you've never done before. If change were easy, everyone would be living their dream life. The fact that it's difficult is what makes it valuable. The person you are today is the result of thousands of small decisions you've made over the years. The person you'll become tomorrow will be the result of the decisions you make starting today. Every choice is either taking you closer to who you want to be or further away from it. There's no neutral ground in personal development. So here's my question for you. Who are you becoming? Are you becoming more skilled or more lazy? More disciplined or more scattered? More focused or more distracted? More valuable or more common? The choice is yours, but you can't avoid making it. Not choosing is still a choice. Understanding how change works is only half the battle. The other half is understanding why it must happen now, not someday, not eventually, but now. Let me tell you about a wake-up call I had that changed how I think about time forever. I was walking through a cemetery one afternoon, and I started reading the tombstones. Every single one had 2 dates separated by a little dash, the birth date and the death date. But you know what struck me? It wasn't the dates that mattered, it was that little dash in between. That dash represented an entire lifetime. Everything that person accomplished, every relationship they built, every dream they pursued or abandoned, every moment of joy or sorrow, all of it was contained in that tiny dash. I stood there thinking about my own dash. How much of it had already been used up? How much was left? Most importantly, what was I doing with the dash I had remaining? That's when it hit me. We don't have forever. We have a dash. And what we do with that dash is the only thing that really matters. Here's what I learned that day. Urgency without purpose is just panic, but purpose without urgency is just a dream. You need both. You need to know why you're here, and you need to act on that knowledge before your dash runs out. Too many people spend their whole lives figuring out their purpose, but never get around to living it. Others rush around frantically, but never pause to consider whether their activity is actually meaningful. The difference between being busy and being productive is the difference between motion and progress. You can be incredibly busy and still be going nowhere. Activity is not achievement. Motion is not movement. Being busy makes you tired, but being productive makes you wealthy. Being active fills your time, but being purposeful fills your life. Let me share something my mentor taught me about the value of time. He said, Jim, time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, but you cannot get more time. When I first heard that, I thought it was just a nice saying. But as I've gotten older, I've come to understand the profound truth in those words. Money lost can be earned back. Opportunities missed can sometimes come around again, but time spent is gone forever. Think about this. You will never have this day again. This moment you're living right now will never come back. The opportunity you have today to change your life, to start something new, to become someone better, this opportunity exists right now. Tomorrow it will be a different opportunity, if it exists at all. Time isn't just money, time is life itself. I want you to consider something that might be uncomfortable. How many days do you have left? I don't mean to be morbid, but the math is simple. If you're 30 years old, you have roughly 18,000 days until you're 80. If you're 40, you have about 14,600 days. If you're 50, you have roughly 11,000 days. Suddenly, that someday mentality starts to feel pretty expensive, doesn't it? But here's what gives me hope. Even if you only have 1,000 days left, that's enough to transform your entire life if you use them wisely. The question isn't how much time you have left. The question is what you're going to do with the time you have. Are you going to invest it or spend it? Are you going to use it to build something meaningful or waste it on things that don't matter? Here's how to live each day as if it matters, because it does. Start by asking yourself this question every morning: if this were my last day, would I be proud of how I spent it? Now, I'm not suggesting you live every day as if it's your last. That would be exhausting and irresponsible. But I am suggesting you live every day as if it matters, because it does. Every day you don't exercise is a day your health declines. Every day you don't learn something new is a day your mind stagnates. Every day you don't tell the people you love that you love them is a day you might not get another chance. Every day you don't work on your dreams is a day they become more distant. Every day matters because every day is part of your dash. This brings me to what I call the legacy question. When your dash is complete, what will people say about how you spent it? Will they say you lived fully or held back? Will they say you contributed or just consumed? Will they say you made a difference or just made excuses? Will they say you reached your potential or settled for less? Your legacy isn't just what you accomplish, it's who you become and how you influence others. It's the example you set, the encouragement you give, the inspiration you provide. It's not just about what you achieve, but about what you help others achieve. It's not just about the success you experience, but about the success you make possible for others. There's an old saying that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is now. The same is true for your life. Maybe you should have started that business 20 years ago, but the second best time to start is now. Maybe you should have begun taking care of your health 20 years ago, but the second best time to begin is now. Maybe you should have started learning that skill, pursuing that dream, building that relationship 20 years ago, but the second best time is now. Here's the truth that nobody wants to face. We all run out of tomorrows eventually. The tragedy isn't that life is short. The tragedy is that most people make it meaningless by always waiting for someday. They wait for Monday to start the diet. They wait for January to make resolutions. They wait for retirement to start living. They wait for the perfect moment that never comes, while the imperfect moments that could change everything pass them by. But you don't have to be like most people. You can be different. You can be someone who acts instead of waits, someone who starts instead of stalls, someone who begins instead of postpones, someone who lives instead of merely exists. So here's my final challenge to you. Right now, as you hear these words, make a decision. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect, right now. Decide that from this moment forward, you will act on what you know instead of waiting for what you don't know. Decide that you will take the first step, even if you can't see the whole staircase. Decide that you will plant seeds today, even if you won't see the harvest for years. Your life is not a dress rehearsal. This is it. This is your one shot, your one chance, your one dash between the dates. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to spend these precious, irreplaceable days you've been given? The choice is yours, but you have to choose. And choosing to wait is still a choice. It's choosing to stay the same forever. You know what separates the people who live extraordinary lives from those who settle for ordinary? It's not their circumstances, their education, or their connections. It's their relationship with the word now. Extraordinary people understand that now is the only moment they have any power over. They can't change yesterday. It's already written. They can't control tomorrow. It hasn't arrived yet. But they can influence now. And they understand that a series of powerful nows creates an extraordinary life. I think about all the people I've met over the years who had incredible dreams, brilliant ideas, amazing potential. Some of them acted on those dreams and built remarkable lives. Others talked about those dreams until they became old stories, repeated so many times they lost their power to inspire action. The difference between these two groups wasn't talent or opportunity. It was their willingness to start before they felt ready. Here's something I want you to remember. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and acting anyway. Every successful person I know has felt afraid, uncertain, unprepared. But they acted in spite of those feelings, not because of the absence of them. They understood that confidence comes from action, not the other way around. The person you're meant to become is waiting on the other side of your decision to act. Your future self, the successful, fulfilled, purposeful person you're capable of being, is counting on the decision you make right now. Don't let that person down. Don't rob the world of what you're capable of contributing. Don't cheat yourself out of the life you could live. The time for someday is over. The time for action is now. Your dash is happening right now. Make it count. So here we are at the end of our time together, but really at the beginning of everything that matters for you. I've shared with you the power of decision, the cost of staying the same, the mechanics of change, and the urgency of now. But all of that means nothing unless you do something with it. You see, information without application is just entertainment. Knowledge without action is just trivia. Understanding without implementation is just intellectual exercise. The question isn't whether you understand what I've shared, the question is whether you'll act on it. Right here, right now, you're at a crossroads. Down one path lies more of the same results, the same limitations, the same unfulfilled potential. Down the other path lies everything you've ever dreamed of becoming, everything you're truly capable of achieving, everything your heart knows is possible. The choice is yours, and you must choose. Because not choosing is choosing. It's choosing to stay exactly where you are. And staying where you are guarantees that 5 years from now, you'll be 5 years older with the same problems, the same regrets, and 5 years less time to change them. Your moment of decision has arrived. The question that will determine your future is simple. Will you act now, or will you stay the same forever? The answer you give will write the story of your life.